Hello and welcome to The Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that enjoys dining at owl-themed restaurants. Ladies and gentlemen, when you sit down, you want a really good and interesting and engaging tabletop experience. But you've probably never had an experience quite like the Game from IWD Games. In the Game from IWD Games, players are going to attempt to play cards in very, very specific ways. Essentially, how it works is you get 4 kind of start cards. Now, these cards are laid down on the table. You have 2 1-up cards, and you have 2 100 down cards. Now, all the other cards are numbers 2 through 99. You mix them up, you shuffle them, you put them into a deck. Then, depending on the number of players, you toss out a certain number of cards to each player. Now, on your turn, you have to lay down 2 cards. Now, you can lay down more than 2, but you have to lay down at least 2. Now, the numbers have to be at least higher than the 1-up cards or lower than the 100 down cards. But as more cards get laid down there, you have to continuously go up from the last card played or down from the last card played. So what that means is as you're playing this out, your options are going to grow more and more limited. If the 2 1-up cards have gotten so far, say the ones at a 3, ones at a 14, and you've got the 2, you can't lay it there. You have to wait until it gets further down on the 100 downs before you can play that card. Otherwise, you're going to cause problems if you play it too early. Now, there's one safety valve in the Game, and that has to do with the rule of 10. Essentially, what that means is if you have a card that is exactly 10 below or 10 above the last card played, you can play it. So if you're counting down, you can play a card that goes back up 10 spaces if it's exactly 10 from the last card played. That gives you some breathing room in this game. Now, also in the Game, because it's cooperative, because you're working together, you cannot be specific with the information on your cards. You cannot say, well, I've got a 14, so don't do this, or, I've got a 98, so let's do that. You cannot say specifically what the card is, but you can pretty much say anything else. You say, ooh, don't place on that row, don't place on that row. I can do good things here, I can do good things there. Or we need to do that, or we need to do this. You can influence the game. Now, after you have laid 2 cards down, you can go ahead and you have to draw back the same number of cards that you laid down. So you're constantly replenishing your hands. Now, once the deck is depleted, then all the players only have to lay down 1 card. Again, you can lay down more than that, but you only have to lay down a minimum of 1 card. Now, what you're trying to do is have as few cards left as you possibly can when the Game ends. Ideally, you want to get rid of them all, but that may not be possible. So what you're trying to do is just get that number down as low as you can. The rulebook says if you end the game with less than 10, it's an excellent score, and you can try to beat that score later. But that's essentially what you're trying to do, is get the lowest number of cards left when you just can't play anything else at all. Now, if at the end of the Game you have more than 10 cards, that means that Gamey, the skull on the cards, he will come into your house while you're sleeping and tickle your nose. I'm just trying to come up with a theme here. Hang on. And that is the Game, or the Game, as it is known from IWD Games. Now, for me, the fun of this game, indeed, I think for most people, the fun of this game comes from the negotiation that you have to work through with your other players. When you're desperately saying, "Don't play there. I can do something really cool. Don't play that." And they're like, "Well, I got nowhere else I gotta play. I gotta play somewhere." And it's like, "Well, don't do that." But you may have cards that can help every row, and then it's kind of a numbers game of, well, where should he play so I can still do something cool or do as many cool things as I can. And it's very interesting. It's intense. It really is. You start off that game and you've got the 1s there, the 100s there. You're thinking, we can beat this thing, no sweat. But as the game is going and you see your options dwindling as those numbers go down or those numbers go up, and you're looking at that deck and you've got a really thick deck of cards to draw from, you're starting to think, literally, and it's intense. It's a tense game. I really like the game. I think it's a fun, good opener for game night. Fun, light card game. I really got a kick out of this one. I think you will too. If you like kind of light, quick card games that are not hard to learn, not hard to play, but still can be quite intense. And I should say there's a lot of randomness here, like a lot of card games. There's a heavy, heavy dose of randomness going on with the cards you draw. That's going to influence what you can lay down. But still, it's the game's so short, 20 minutes or so, maybe 30 on the outside. It's so short that it doesn't really matter. The randomness. It doesn't. It's just a fun game. I really, really, really like the game from IDW Games. So the recommendation is buy it. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and you better have a whole bowl full of meeples out when you go to bed tonight. Or Gamey may just come and tickle you. It just still isn't right, is it?
Please somebody help me on my feet again. And I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
In the Game from IDW Games. I'm so stupid.